Hi, I'm Eric from East Austin Succulents, and we're going to talk about seeds today. Seeds are really easy once you develop a system for it, and you shouldn't be scared. They take a long time. Cactus and succulents are really slow from seed, but if you can collect seed or buy seed, you can really increase your profit margin and production of the things that you like. So let's get started. So most of our seeds we buy online. We buy them from Kores in Germany. We buy them from Lifestyle Seeds, Seeds Africa, Mesa Gardens, and tons on eBay for the more rare Haworthias and stuff. But we also collect a lot of seeds, and this is an example of a plant that we didn't really care about, so we weren't really on it as far as collecting the seeds. Now, if you look close, all of these pods have kind of dried out, and you can actually see all the little black seeds. There are a bunch of seeds in there, and you can see how they're just kind of flying around. Okay, so I would want to get like a Tupperware container and pull all these pods off and separate the chaff from the seeds. You don't want to be planting your chaff because it can cause fungus and mildew and stuff like that. But ideally, now this is a old variegated plant, and the seed pods aren't really on the variegates, but I can just pull that off, and there, and if I cut open into this, you'll be able to see all the seeds like that. Okay, see all those black things? And this is fruit. You can eat this actually, but there's the good seeds in there, and it's hard to separate those with just your fingers and fingernails. So what we like to do is just spread them out on a paper towel, so that then I'm removing the fruit from the seed, and I could just leave it like that, and let that dry out for a day, and then collect all of those seeds into a little packet and with a label. So yeah, so here's another fruit. Just kind of spread those out like that. Okay, so then once you have your seeds, the coolest thing about Kores seeds is they have a label already with the plant. So what I like to do is there's a million ways to do seeds, but we like these flats. Okay, so a stronger flat like this is ideal. It won't bend when you're carrying it around like this crappy one. These crack over time and get leaks, so you don't want these. These are garbage. Get these really sturdy, nice ones. It's worth the money because they'll last for years. And then we like these 2.5-inch pots. This is a method that the guys from Daniel and Socorro from where are they from?
Rio Grande Cactus.
Rio Grande Cacti taught us this method. So we go like 25% expanded shale in here into these. So then, and the reason we like this method is all of your duds, things that don't work, you can always be replacing and sizing them up to consolidate on space. A big grower like box greenhouses, they'll just grow in huge flats, and their duds, they have 20 greenhouses to deal with. We like this because we can consolidate as we need to, and things that we need to bump up into 4s, we can just remove from these spots and replace them. So that's a good system for us. Once we have our shale in here, then we make our mix, and our mix is 50% perlite and 50% pro mix. So this can be Metro Mix, Sun Grow, potting soil, whatever. You basically just want to be half perlite, half pro mix, so that you have a well draining fast soil that is still pretty nutritious. If you did it in pure perlite or pumice, like a lot of the Cali growers do, you have to water every single day. So this mix works for us, and a bin like this is great. And for mixing, a bar scoop like this is way better than a crappy scoop like this plastic, because everything I do potting wise, I'm always using the bar scoop for dirt or anything else. I love this scoop. Okay, so once we have that, I'll just dump that into my, and that was the expanded shale down in there.
Okay, and it's already wet?
Well, that's a step that I always do. I always just fill the tray up with water also. That's the step that I would do now probably. I'll just pull this back and water in here so that I'm not disturbing the dirt at all. I'm just bottom watering so that I can get an even soak among all of these. Okay, so once I do that step, now I have the task of removing all of the little wood chips. Okay, you see, once I get this kind of evened out, I need to remove all these little wood chips, because if your seeds are sitting on top of these or on top of big pieces of perlite, they're not going to grow properly. So you got to get rid of these, okay? And then once I've removed most of the wood chips, I will put a sifted layer of Metro Mix on top so that I'm getting good contact with my little seeds. And when I'm doing this, I want to focus on the edges. You want more on your edges. For some reason, your edges dry out quicker than the pots in the middle. Okay, so once we do that, then we get things flat. I'm gonna condense these a little bit so that they're nice and flat, so that I end up with the one right behind you. Okay, so then I have a nice new flat to work with. Okay, and this one's been soaking a little bit. You can see that it's kind of wet. So then, one of the key things is a little Tupperware thing like this or this, okay? You never want your seed packet to go, let me grab a euphorbia. You never want your seed packet to go right in there, because you're gonna lose some. They're gonna fly all over the place. So if you just are dumping your seeds into a little Tupperware like this, some of these you might have to rip open to see if there's any little ones. Look, see, there's still one more in there. And so I'll stick my label, and then with this Tupperware I can spread things out a little bit better. There's probably only 10 seeds in there, but as you can see, a lot of these seeds are real small. Okay, now with a tiny seed like that I can barely even see, I don't really need to cover. Just get this one in here. Maybe this is better. So dump these in there. This is a good sized seed. This is like a medium sized seed, I would guess. So I can cover these. I'm gonna spread them out a little bit. Like that. This is like 100 seeds, which is a little much for one pot, so I'm going to go into the next one. And you can always do experiments with covering, uncovering, heat. Now that size of a seed, I think I'm fine with covering that. Now this that I'm covering with is floor dry. And floor dry or dry stall or oil dry, you can get from Napa Auto Parts. This I get from Northern Tool because I like the color of it. It changes colors when it's dry. But yeah, any kind of floor dry. Rennie, the Haworthia grower, she uses roofing granules. Anything that's not going to get fungus and algae, that's your good top dress. You wouldn't want to top with fine sifted stuff because there's no air. It's just gonna attract bugs. Bugs can lay their eggs in top layers that are wet, and also algae and fungus and stuff like that. So that's what I top with, so that I'm not getting that kind of stuff. Now a really tiny seed like gymnocalyciums and mesums and lithops, things that you can barely see, don't top dress them. You're gonna be covering them a little bit with their own soil when you spray them in. So after I've planted and I've top dressed, I'm gonna spray. These sprayers suck. Don't ever buy these. You see how this handle is broken? It's leaking. It's garbage. I love these Solo sprayers. This is probably at least 5 years old. See, you can hear that thing leaking. It's never broken. I love these for everything. So you want to spray directly down on what you're doing. If you spray from the side, you can be knocking seeds out, and you want to start really light at first. You're just spraying like that. So these seeds that I haven't covered, they're basically getting covered a little bit, but because I'm kind of agitating that soil when I cover. So you're just allowing the dirt to settle around that plant and get it to where it's going to be for the rest of its growing process. So once we spray there, then we need to cover. They need to stay really wet for like a month, so we will cover with a dome, and we'll show you that when we go into the seed room. Otherwise, you can just, you know, if you're at home, you just have like one packet of seeds, or you just collected some seeds off one of your plants, you can just go right into a Ziploc. So I could just take these, get in here, and leave them in this wet bag until they sprout. Once they sprout, I can, I can completely seal this up for a couple weeks. Once I see that they've sprouted, it might be a month, then I can open it. But you don't want tiny seedlings just to go out to full air. You're gonna have to water them too much. So it's good to leave them in a bag for a couple months until they get some size, until they start taking on their shape. Then when you notice that you don't need to water them very much anymore, and I know you're gonna be asking how long is that? It just depends on the plant. Some plants grow really fast and they're huge. I have some Haworthias that have been under domes for like 6 months, and they still have friends that are still trying to sprout, and I'm leaving them under domes because it's not really hurting them, you know. So that's a baggie method. A bigger baggie can hold a 6-inch pot, and you can do that. Our friend Brad doesn't get to visit his greenhouses very much, so he grows seeds in these deep 6-inch pots, and he has great success with that. This is our method though, and if you have any suggestions or comments, feel free to let us know. But yeah, that's what we do. We'll go into the seed room now and show you how we start growing them.
Okay, I'm recording. So do I say about how old these are? Or?
Well, I guess if we looked at a date, this is 4/1/18. So these are already 8 months old. And let's see who else has a date on. Usually I try to put dates, but it's not 11/6. So this is almost a year old. No, this is over a year old. So these guys are over a year old. This is a much faster growing aloe variegata. This is probably only 3 or 4 months old. Alright, so once we get into the seed room, the last step that I like to do just to prevent fungus is spray a fungicide. So I'm just going to kind of coat that, and this is not necessary, we just have better results. And you can see these are some Gymnocalycium seeds we haven't covered because they're just tiny seeds, but most of these seeds we have covered. So I'm going to put some fungicide on there, and I'm going to make sure that there's still some water in there, because for the first week or so you want to be wet. Okay, now this is a flat that I do not care about heat for, so I'm just going to get it not on a heat mat. Get them in here. Okay, now this is a heat mat that I like. I like these heat mats, they last forever. So for a lot of euphorbias and most seeds can take some heat. You don't want heat for your winter growers like aloe and mesums and Haworthia, Gasteria. You don't need heat for those, so don't bother. And those are good heat mats. You can just use heat mats that you would use for like medical stuff, you know, for cramps and stuff. I used to use these. I've gone through tons of different types of heating things, but I like those green ones that you can get from the grower supply places. Now, the lights, this is, you know, I started this probably, you know, 8 years ago when T8s were fine, but now it's all LED. So you can do LED lights, that's fine. Little babies like this don't really care. Now, when you move up to higher intensity lights like T5s or T3s, you can burn some things. Like little baby cactus like this might burn. So you have to just see what lights can take T5 and T3. This was too intense for a lot of things, so I just twisted 2 of the bulbs off. So this is a T3, which is really intense, but 2 of the bulbs are off. Now I can leave these domes on for sometimes 1 month and everything is sprouted, so I'll take them off so that they don't have any issues. Sometimes domes stay on for like 6 months. basically you want to see that everything is sprouted. So when I look at a flat like this, I see 9, 5, 18, so that's like 4 months old. I see a 7, 1, 18, and they're still tiny. So, but then I have a lot of spots where things haven't sprouted yet, so that's why I still have a dome on here. But the ones that haven't sprouted are probably duds. So it's been like 4 months, and these haven't sprouted, so they're probably duds. So I can just remove these spots, put something else in there. The rest of these, right now it's 121, so these are like 6 months old. And once I remove this dome, I'm going to have to water a little bit more. They're going to have to adjust. But this is fine to remove these. But you see how I don't have very much green on here? That's because I've covered with that floor dry and used fungicide every once in a while. See, this is a new batch of stuff, brand new. And this is, Roy discovered that covering these small seeds was bad, so we did an experiment here where we have a row that is not covered with the floor dry, and the germination rate is higher than the rows that have been covered, or else it's faster, where you see results quicker. So it might be okay to cover, but you might have better results with not covering. So those are only a month old, and you can see that we have really high success. Another high success flat is this one right here. These were all free seeds that a guy brought into the nursery, but you can see it's just crazy germination rates, and this is a flat that I did not cover with. So you can see some of the floor dry there that I threw on, but
it does help.
In general, it's not covered.
It does help to keep them supported.
Yes, absolutely. In my seed room, I always keep a bowl of floor dry so that I can help support guys that might be falling over. Those aren't, but you know, we'll see a lot of examples over here of things that are falling over, kind of, that I could use some floor dry and kind of prop up, you know, get them standing better. And here's an example of something that is way too big for a little 2.5 incher, but if I bring them out to the greenhouses with low temps, they'll go dormant. And I want them to keep growing, so, I mean, we do need to bump these into bigger pots, but I just like them. They're neat. This is Petopentia. And if we take them out, it's winter time, so they'll go dormant and lose their leaves. So I'm just going to leave them under these lights for a little while until the spring, and then we'll get them bumped. This is how I water in this room. Since I don't have a faucet or anything, I just have a huge trash can full of water, and I have a little pump that will... that I can water with. But I discovered it's way faster to just use these wax. These are like candle making jugs, and all I do is I fill one of these up, and it's the perfect size to bottom water a whole tray. Boom, boom. And that'll just suck that up, and I usually have to do this about once a week. And then the rest of the time, I'm just spot watering with my little spray guy. Since I have a fan going all the time, these guys on the edges, they get a little dry. So, you know, you're always going to have some inconsistencies. You're going to have some plants that are thirstier than others. So you can always hit them with these. Let's talk about, let me get over here. So then... eventually, you're going to have a lot of success with seeds like this. You're going to have way too much. And dealing with something like this is one flat, but this can turn into a whole table of plants in the greenhouse. When you go one plant per 2.5 incher or 2 inch or 4 inch or whatever, you come up with tons and tons of plants, you know. Another thing, always make sure you have twins in your seed room, okay? Twins. All right.
I'll cut that out.
No. You have to put that in. All right. I think that's it. Oh, okay. Let's just look at. So eventually, you need to start assessing everything. Who needs to go out into real sunlight and who needs a bigger pot? Like these guys, obviously, this is too big for that pot. These guys need to go out. These guys can stay. They're fine. These can stay. These could stay until they're basically almost busting the pot out. See, these are a little bit too small, these Haworthias, but this is good. This has some good size to them. That guy, definitely. They can go. Haworthia is like deep pots, so I want to get out of this shallow pot
Well, look how
and get them into.
look how nice and green these guys look compared
Yeah.
to the ones that are in the greenhouse that are all
Yeah.
stressed out and red and
Yeah.
gray.
Yeah, things will take on different shapes and forms and colors as they get into full airflow and full sunlight, or even just natural light. But you can see some of these guys I can get out of here, and some I can't. So that's why I love these 2.5ers. I can choose who I want to bump instead of having a full flat where you have to separate everything. You can just separate out the ones that you like. Look at these guys. Those are neat. That's like an obtuse Dodson. These are looking cool. Yeah, so it's just up to you and your energy level how quickly you want to get to repotting all this stuff. But yeah, grow things from seed, try it out, do different experiments, and when they grow up, sell them to me or start your own business. Alright, if you have any questions or suggestions, I'm sure you will. I think we're going to start a YouTube channel, so you can write them below. And thanks for watching.